welcome guys to the second video in my motorbike learning to ride a motorbike vlog. As you can see, this is my CBT and I'm doing this on a geared bike to begin with, and straight away I've forgotten to do the clutch, laughing at myself because just schoolboy error there. I've always had a bit of a fear of learning to ride a bike with gears because I've never understood how it all works, so the fact that QuickStart threw me onto a geared bike straight away was sort of facing the challenge head on. As you see, just getting used to the controls in a nice controlled environment in a car park in Oxford. So this has been done with QuickStart in Oxford. I have to say the guys were great on the day, and one thing that I very quickly learned that I talk about here is the fact that when I look at the controls, which you naturally do to try and concentrate on what you're doing, it's very hard. You have to be looking forward and almost leave your intuition to do.
Yeah, keep your head up, looking forward. Yeah, no, that's always keep your head up.
There you go, you can just about hear me trying to keep the head up, look forward, and let the intuition, let your hands and feet do what they are meant to do. Focus on where you are going rather than what you are doing.
So all the exercises we're going to do, it will all be head up all the time.
They can probably just about hear me over the wind noise there. As you can see, it's absolutely sodden out there. It'd been pouring down with rain all morning, and finally the sun came out, so I was able to get a bit of practice when it wasn't raining, but it was extremely blustery, which made this part quite difficult to do. So this is the figure 8, and the idea here is to try and get more control over the bike itself, more control over the controls of the bike itself, while also getting your balance on there as well at quite slow speeds. So as you can hear, it is very blustery. I've also changed bikes here. I've gone from a blue, I think it was a blue Yamaha, over to a red, I think it was a Honley. Apologies if I've got those wrong, but I have to say that I got on much better with the blue bike than I did the red.
That was alright though. You put the power on to come up the hill, which is what you need.
Yeah, I'm thinking that that's the brake.
Right.
And it's a very hard thing to brake because obviously we're used to riding a bike.
Yeah.
Or a pedal bike.
So I found it quite difficult on the day to try and break an old habit of pedal bikes where your left lever is your rear brake and your right lever is your front brake. So as I was going around doing this and trying to slow the bike down, I was hitting the rear lever, and then that was disengaging the engine, so I lost engine brake and I was going even faster and getting myself quite muddled up, and yeah, I was quite uncomfortable at times doing that. But yeah, powering on, keep going to try and master this.
I'll try using that clutch a little bit more. See if you can smooth it out.
Now Stuart here was fantastic because he showed us how to do it professionally with someone who's been riding bike for many years, and he was using the accelerator with the clutch and also the rear brake to really control the bike around that figure 8 at a very slow speed. So almost working the accelerator, the engine and the brakes against one another, rubbing each other off against one another to be nice and smooth, and then using the clutch to ride out any of the bumps in the power delivery.
It's finding very hard to get out of the mindset of this brake.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing out of the brake, so it's like I'm hearing rev stuff, I'm like, oh, I'll put the brake,
Yeah.
down, and it, yeah.
So you can bring the revs up. So this is where you're going to stick and ride the clutch. This is what you want to get that smoothness and get that control over the bike.
But my mind is thinking that this is
It's
brake.
great, yeah, so it's good.
I'm like, oh, I'll put the brake on, slow me down, this one, now I'm going faster, and now let that out, and whoosh, I'm off.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, another stall. Come on, Tim, get it together. So on the red bike, I actually found the blue bike easier to ride than the red. I don't know why, but it was great that QuickStart had got different makes and models of bike as well, different variants of bike, so that you could begin to see that every bike wasn't the same, which I suppose is true for any vehicle, car, bike, tank, plane, whatever it might be. Starting to get into it though now. Also, a huge shout out at this stage to Stuart, who was not only instructing all three of us, but I mentioned to him literally the morning of the CBT saying, oh, I've got my camera, I want to do some filming because I'm documenting this series. And without me even asking, he actually asked me, he said, well, get your camera out, can I film for you? So I got all this great footage thanks to Stuart from QuickStart, so a huge thank you to him for not only being a fantastic instructor but also a brilliant cameraman as well. As you can see, it didn't all go to plan. Here he comes round and almost off. I think I've come off again here. Now, the girl who's just come across shot there, that was Hannah. Hannah was also doing her CBT. She was just 16 years old, so full marks to Hannah for embracing her independence and getting out there. The other guy who was on the course with us was Joe, who, after I really fumbled around, you can see how far the cones moved in the wind, but after I'd really fumbled around on this red bike for probably about 20 or 30 minutes, I went up to him and stole the blue bike back off him, and then kept on that for the rest of the day, which I found the blue bike a lot easier to ride than the red. But you can see here, starting to get more used to the bike. I imagine anybody who knows how to ride a bike is watching me do this and is thinking, what an absolute fool. But it was a huge step forward for me, getting on a bike, on a geared bike, and getting used to it. For part 3, this was after lunch, and this was where things really started to click.
That's excellent, 'cause that's not easy to do.
So doing a U-turn in the road is going to be part of the Mod 1 or Mod 2 test. You can see I'm still getting cross with myself as I'm being a bit jerky with the controls. But doing a U-turn is going to be part of the Mod 1, Mod 2 test.
Very tight, you're very relaxed doing that, very chilled.
In those tests I'll have to do this in a space of 3.5 car parking spaces. Just hit a cone, come on, what are you doing, Tim? Honestly, but I have to do it in 3.5 spaces, so Stuart actually set us up to do it in 2 spaces, and I was determined to get it in that, and I think this time, yes, keeping it in those lines. So I'm really proud of myself for doing that. Small wins. Now you can see I will do little turns over my shoulder, and that's because that's another thing you have to do as part of the Mod 1 and Mod 2 test.
It always helps though, doesn't it? 'Cause if you're hungry, then you can't think straight. Excellent. You look very relaxed doing that. It's a tough one to do.
Figure of 8 feels better as well.
Right, yeah, it's brought you on even more.
Yeah.
You saw there, getting far more used to the whole clutch control. Right, emergency stop, first attempt.
Oh, that leg came out really early, so you want to keep yourself
I was
nice
expecting
and
the
tucked in if
brakes
you
to
can.
come on a lot quicker than they did.
Yeah,
By the
that's
second
okay,
attempt, I was a bit nervous that second attempt, so I didn't want to go too quick, but by third attempt,
yeah, loads better. Really nice gap between the 2 hands, that's perfect.
I got
Really
used to
nice.
rear brake, front
Yeah,
brake,
much
and
better.
engaging the clutch at a later point. Now this is where the weather got bad.
So the CBT is going well, the weather not so much. What we've got to do now is junctions. So the cones are all set up to mimic a junction, and I'm on this little thing here. I quite like it actually. Quite good fun.
So this is where the weather was just appalling, and it was like this when I was on my way to the test centre, and also when we first arrived there in the morning as well. In fact, it was like this weekend before, and most of the gear was still soaking wet, so all the gloves were still soaked and helmet and so forth, but you know, you just get on with it. So here you can see me looking over my shoulder. That's not for me to look at the camera and see what the camera's doing. It's actually part of the instructions. So before we move from the centre of the road, either over to the left or to the right, you have to look over your shoulder, call it a lifesaver look. And that is essential to make sure there's nobody coming into your blind spots who's potentially going to knock you off the bike. So you can see another look over the shoulder there, and again before making a left-hand turn through those cones. Another thing that is quite weird to try and get used to doing is turning off indicators. Obviously in a car, when you go around the corner they self-cancel, but on a bike they don't do that at all.
I am so wet. Oh, I have waterproof trousers on and they've completely failed. Even the GoPro's given up. I have a puddle around my testicles. So enjoyed it though. Day has got no better, but we filled up all 3 of them.
No, I wasn't able to get much footage of the actual test, so this was just a quick stop at the petrol station. But Stuart here coming back over to carry on with the test.
I quite like this little thing. All is going well, I think. I'll find out when he fails me.
So results time.
Right, we're back. All bikes back. Stuart dropped his. Stuart's been the instructor. I have to say, brilliant instructor. And Hannah is 16 and doing the CBT first time, but have we passed?
You've both passed. Congratulations, guys. Done very well.
If you'd have failed us after today, I'd have been mighty cross.
I bet. I've got heated gloves. They're lovely. I tell you, I've got nice ones.
What?
I could have lynched Stuart when he said this. He's been riding around with lovely heated gloves on the whole day, and at this stage, literally every fibre of me was wet.
I'm gonna. Well.
But yeah, at this stage, a huge thank you to QuickStart for the great tuition, and also to Stuart for doing some brilliant filming.
CBT done. Next is module 1.
So I start my Mod 1 training on the 16th of November. I've got my test on the 18th, and then my Mod 2 test on the 21st of November. So there could be 2, possibly 3 videos.
Full license.
Full license.
Yeah.
So, big thank you to QuickStart from Oxford for teaching me. Bikes have been brilliant. Do I recommend them? Yes, of course. It's been like this the whole day. Stuart has been magic. Tune back in later this month when I do Mod 1 and Mod 2. Thanks for watching.
So, again, big thank you to QuickStart for the fantastic tuition. Please, obviously, like and subscribe to this video. It's youtube.com/Tim. And like I say, my big bike training is coming up on the 16th. I've got my Mod 1 test on the 18th, and Mod 2 is on the 21st. So, stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel, and there are a lot more videos coming.